Hello friend, welcome to my channel once again. Welcome to Daily Code Challenge. Today we have another very exciting challenge to work on, and it says double sequence. Alright, so it says write a function double sequence that accepts a base and a length as arguments. The function should return an array representing a sequence that contains length elements. The first element of the sequence is always the base. The subsequent elements can be generated by doubling the previous elements of the sequence. All right, so what does this mean? This means that, for example, the argument here we have is 7, which represents the base. This should always be the first value in the array. That's why here we have 3 here as the first value. Here we have 7 here as the first value. Here we have 5 here as the first value. We have 5 here as the first value as well. This one is a different case. We'll talk about this later. All right, so the length here, which is the second argument, it represents the number of items we should have in the array. Here we have 3 numbers in the array. Here we have 5, because here we have 5, and it goes down that way. That's actually why here we have an empty array, because this part says 0, right? Okay, so what do we need to do? We need to, first of all, the instruction says somewhere here, yes, it says the first element of the sequence is always the base, right? So we need to put this into consideration. All right, so let's begin. So we begin by writing the function keyword, and then we name the function double sequence, and then the params. The parameter is going to be 2. We'll be having 2 parameters. One is the base, and then the other the length. All right. Now we need to loop through for now. Yeah. So let's use a for loop. We say for I change my index to I, and also remove array.length. Rather, what we want to put here is just length. Then I also remove this line of code. So what this part means is that I is going to be 0, right? And then I is going to be less than length, which means that we are going to start the loop from the first item and then down through the length item. Now the length here represents the argument 3. So this is more like saying 3. So we are going to be moving from 0 to 3. But this 3 is hard coded, right? It's going to work for every of these functions here. But we don't want that. We want each of these should have their separate length value. So this one is for 3. This one has 5, 3, 4, and 0. So instead of hard coding 3 here, we simply just put length, right? So that explains that. All right. So the next thing we need to do is we need to push every of these values we have into a new array, right? So when we generate the first value, which is the base value, it goes into a new array. Then the next value to go into the new array is the double of the first value, which is the base value, 14. Then the next value to go into the array is a double of this 14. So we need to create a new variable for our new array. So we say we use the let keyword because the new array gets updated. It's not going to be a constant. So we say new array equals to empty array, right? So here, what we need to do here is we need to push every item generated, every value generated into this new array, but not forgetting that it is in the instruction here that the first element of the sequence is always the base. So here we need to come here and say new array 0, which is the first item, is equal to base, and that base here it represents 7 in this aspect. Here it represents 3, and so on. All right, so having done this, the next thing we need to do is to push the new values into this new array. So we say new array dot push. Now what do we need to push? Looking at this very well, I represents 0. Okay, here I is equal to 0. I is not supposed to be 0 anymore, because here we said the first item is equal to base, right? So here we are going to continue with the second item, which is going to be 1, right? That's explanatory. Right, okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to make it in a way that After when we've pushed this first array, this first value into the array, which is already this already has settled this 7 entering into the new array because we've assigned the first value to become the base value, right? So the second value is going to be the product of these, and the second value is simply going to be okay, new array, then I, right? So that's going to be I multiplied by 2. Let's be very sure about this. Okay, so I here is new array I, that's 1, right? So we are saying new array 1 multiplied by 2, and we don't have new array 1 yet, right? So it's going to be new array I minus 1. So this means that I here is 1, right? 1 minus 1 is equal to 0. That means that new array 0, which is this, which is equal to the base multiplied by 2. So that means that the base here is going to multiply by 2 to get 14. Then when I becomes 2, this becomes 2 minus 1, that's 1. New array 1, which we've already gotten, will now multiply itself by 2. That's 14 times 2. And then we continue with the loop until we stop at a point I less than length. And length here is equal to 3. So we are going to be having 1, 2, 3 here, right? So I believe that that's easy to understand. Okay, so the next we need to do is to return this new array. We use the return keyword and then return new array. All right, so let's save this code. Let's run and see if we get that correct. Okay, so here we can see that we have 7, 14, 28, which is the same thing as this. 3, 6, 12, 24, 48, 5, 10. Okay, so we've been able to implement what this challenge is all about, but with a slight difference, right? Here we need to consider this part because here this is equal to 0, and when this part is 0, it's not recognizing this to become an empty array. So we need to ensure that we state it emphatically that when or if length is equal to 0, we should return an empty array. So we could just come here or here and say if length is equal to 0, return null. Sorry, not null, but empty array. So let's save this and let's run again. Okay, now it is fixed. Now here we have the correct values here, and then for the last one we have an empty array. So that solves this challenge. All right, friends, so thank you for joining on this call. Please like it if you find this video interesting. Subscribe to this channel, Dev with Excel, and see you tomorrow. Bye.